even fools are considered wise when silent. It's even cheap liquor, and it's not even an excuse just because it's expensive. Because again, people are buying bigger things for their girlfriends and not asking for anything in return, let alone you who is asking for a woman's life in return. And start saying, you know, you should teach your children not to want things for free. You should teach your children not to want, you know, the nice stuff in life. Who does not want things in life? I'm just like, you're here saying, oh, she's selling sex, she's doing whatever she's doing. Who is she selling this sex to? But you don't seem to bother about the clients, the people who are purchasing this particular sex. Is your husband being stolen, or is he actually taking himself to these particular people and actually saying that, you know what, my wife died 2 years ago, I'm actually in mourning, when in real sense, I hate to say it, I hate to burst your bubble, but I'll have to. Shut up. Just hold your breath, just use it for other things. Endo puliza moto, ama you just go take care of your relationships, or just go say sweet nothings to our women are being killed. You don't own any woman, so rest. Just rest. Hi guys, this is Patsy Givenchy, and it's yet another amazing episode of That's How Patsy Sees It. On the second episode of How to Woman, we are going to be addressing a major topic, a major of concern, a major we have been organizing around, an area I personally have been organizing around, and this area is specifically the femicide issue. And so just direct right into it. What is femicide? Femicide to me, or femicide according to what I was introduced to, femicide according to the definition that is really close to my heart, is the killing of women in their diversity just because of being women. That, when you mention femicide and just say that, I think that is going to be enough. And so many things have come and many things have become a hindrance when it comes to femicide as a topic, and there is issues around documentation, there is issues around statistics, there is issues around people victim blaming, and these are the issues we're going to be tackling, the issues we're going to be diving into in this particular episode. So welcome on board. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and even share. Drop a comment, let us interact. This is a safe space, this is a very interactive session, this is an educative session, so I would appreciate any questions, and I will make sure to take my time to just react to your concern, questions, or even positive critics. I can say it's not always that we are out looking for criticism to just react to them in a negative way. I believe we have very constructive criticism, and whenever you want to do that, I think it's not right to blast people about something they're not doing right in the public eye, and so that is why I'm going to shamelessly tag my social media handles here at Patsy Givenchy at all social media handles, from TikTok, Instagram. Am I on Twitter? I don't know if I'm active. I have a love-hate relationship with X, but Instagram and TikTok is where for sure you're going to find me. And so femicide is a topic I wasn't very conversant with personally, and so whenever I interact with anyone and they tell me, you know what, Patsy, I don't really relate to what femicide is all about, I don't see why there is so much emphasis about femicide. Okay, that sounds quite insensitive. I'm not here to defend anyone who is being tone deaf or anything. I'm just here to say, for anyone who is willing to learn, that I am here to offer the grace, and I'm just here to enlighten them about what femicide is all about. I'm sorry if I end up posing at any given point. I mean, I'm in the outside and like certain noises are just distracting me, but I'm going to make sure as much as possible that I stay focused, just address you, and that is why I'm actually using a prompt. Don't judge me, hisi mwa Kenya. It's just a prompt to make sure that my ADHD does not come to play and I end up saying a lot of nothing for the whole session. And so right into it, I have given the definition of femicide, but then when we say that femicide is the killing of women in their diversity just because they're women, I think there's this obsession around people thinking whenever there's a femicide case or whenever there's a femicide victim, then definitely we must have a physical perpetrator and a physical person that has died. And my answer is no. I have just come to reclaim and kind of rehabilitate this definition, and just to say, for example, I'm going to throw a challenge at you, my viewers, and just give you an instant. A woman or a man is in a marriage or a relationship or any dynamic, and the person they are entangled to, I want to say entangled to, because I think when you have a relationship, when you're relating, it's not possible that it's being toxic or anything. But now when you're entangled, or rather when you find yourself in these particular situations, then it means that the likelihood of you finding yourself in some awkward and more often than not toxic situation is very high. And so if it's a man or a woman in an entanglement, and then this partner is consistently and very aggressively exposing them to any form of violence. It could be financial, emotional, any kind of violence. And this person who is a woman, because we are tackling femicide, this particular person ends up committing suicide. To me, that looks like femicide, but someone else might say no, but this is suicide. But then this suicide has a perpetrator who has actually driven them to this particular situation. And so that is when the need for me to just look deeper and just do a little bit of soul searching and looking inward about femicide, and just put myself in the character of this particular perpetrator, or even in the character of the person who is being affected directly, and just ask myself, if I was in their immediate context, how would I relate? Because a lot of times when people become tone deaf to certain situation, it comes as a result of them thinking that they are immune to this particular situation. So in this case, we are handling femicide, and so someone is just thinking, but this is a topic that is so far-fetched. Who is going to kill me, for example? Maybe someone is saying, but femicide is specifically about people who are in relationship, or femicide only affects key population, or all this misinformation and disinformation about femicide. And when I looked at this topic, I just realized that whenever you're doing a work of activism and advocacy, first thing you have to do for your work to be effective is you have to put yourself in the immediate context of the people who are being affected. And in this case, the femicide cases, you need to reason like a victim. You need to reason, or rather a potential victim. You need to reason as a person who was related to the victim. You need to think like their parents and just think around the mental turmoil, the devastation, the sadness, the amount of bitterness they have to go through going to this court hearing and the case hearing and reliving these particular moments over and over again, how hard it might be for them, or it must be for them actually, because I'm sure it's really, really hard. The next thing I talked about is about the statistics when it comes to femicide. So yeah, in every case, in every area of interest when it comes to advocacy and activism, figures, numbers are what people rely on. So for example, they will ask, you're saying that women are dying, where are the numbers to show that actually this particular woman died not because of pneumonia, but it's because it's a femicide case? And then you have to go ahead and record and then give the statistics, and then the bodies who are actually involved get to actually gain interest, or rather they actually give it the attention that it requires. And that is when we have things like a pandemic being a national emergency. For example, the COVID-19, it was out of the rise in figures. It was out of the fact that there was, a rise in these particular cases, that people actually, or rather people who are in power, people who control this particular collection of data, actually decided that, this is actually a national disaster, and these kind of solutions are the solutions that need to be put in place. And so even for femicide, it's not different. There has been a struggle, or rather a dysfunction, when it comes to the recording of femicide cases. And here, like, just considered here as a trans person, I think we're the most affected, because more often than not, for example, I'm just thinking, when I look at the femicide figures or the statistics when it comes to femicide in relation to trans women, all I can see is the person who has been recorded is only one. I think the case that people talk about, I'm not going to mention names because I don't have the consent. It's only one person who is mentioned to be a trans woman who has died in situations that have been proven to be conditions that can be considered to be or rather that she can be considered to be a victim of femicide. But my question is it true that it's only that particular person or that particular trans woman that actually died, and died around circumstances that are related to femicide? Most definitely not. And what is the reason behind that? More often than not, a trans woman will die and the family will just decide, you know what, you're Jane, or rather you lived your life as Jane, but now that you're lifeless and you don't have a say on how we're going to bury you or how we conduct your mourning and everything, we're going to make sure that we bury you as John. And that is how some of these figures could be lost, because automatically this is a trans woman, but just because they don't have maybe the required documentation to prove that they're trans women, and this is now what informs the next course of action, where we need to, work around legislation when it comes to trans women, the registration when it comes to their identities, and just, give them a sense of belonging, a sense of recognition. And it's through this recognition that when now a person dies, which we hope is not going to happen, around circumstances that can be considered to be related to femicide. This is what actually informs the statistics and the recording when it comes to figures. That is when we have the right legislation around issues, for example, around trans women. And I'm afraid to say, or rather, it's unfortunate to just admit that we might end up having these, recurring situation where trans women's deaths are not actually recorded in the right way. If it's possible to mitigate and actually put to an end femicide when it comes to these, population specifically, or even like femicide as a whole, we say it's almost unrealistic, but then it's okay to dream. But then if we are to come to that, then that is okay. But as long as this keeps on happening, we are going to have the wrong presentation of data, the wrong recording, as long as there is no legislation around matters around transgender people and transgender as a whole. And then, just thinking about it, I would love to maybe pick your brains around a certain area. When we speak about femicide, there seems to be a certain limitation when it comes to the populations that actually can be, do I want to say eligible or illegible? Because it's actually matters to do with death. It's not like we are competing to actually be recognized when it comes to that. But then when it comes to that particular recognition, how recognized are trans men? Because I think people assume that automatically when someone transitions to become a trans man, then maybe they lose their femininity and womanhood. I don't know how to bring it. And then people somehow assume it's not possible for them to be victims of femicide. And this is the other dynamic or the other side of the coin that I want to bring to people's attention. Because just look at this. An instance of a trans woman who is maybe going for cervical cancer screening, and then this person is on hormones, and so definitely the different changes are taking place. So they have a beard, they have a deep voice, and they have gone to this medical practitioner and they want cervical cancer screening service. And then this person is maybe profiling them or something. And so this is a potential informer of the reason why a trans man specifically could potentially shy away from going to a hospital because they are afraid of the fact that they could go there and their dysphorias are triggered. And so what would happen, for example, if this person is at risk or is already having the cervical cancer germs? It means this person could potentially end up dying. And again, from Patsy's eye, from Patsy's perspective, this is actually a femicide case because the point I'm trying to bring into perspective is the fact that in this particular situation, we have a perpetrator who is the person who is triggering their dysphoria, and this perpetrator has done something which has caused death. And so here I am to just say, I think we need to look and to just go back and look inwards and just decide on the perfect, do I want to say perfect, or the right definition when it comes to femicide. I think if I was asked, femicide is the intentional, the intentional word is usually there, the intentional killing of, I would want to say women and people with, now we need to work around that because there are people who don't like hearing the word feminine bodies or the word feminine physique. Oh, but then, like, this is something that needs to be recognized. For example, we have to recognize that trans women are actually people who, like, the most of their the anatomy part of it is masculine. But then if there's a person, it does not take away from the fact that these are actually women and the other way around. And so I think we just need to, because I feel like the definitions we put in place are actually the things that actually determine about how well the conversations we are trying to put forth will work. And that is a call to action, I think, to every person that is organizing, any advocate, any activist around the femicide situation. And again, I'm here shamelessly plugging End Femicide KE, and you can check them out on Instagram and see the amazing work they have been doing, including the mega End Femicide march that was held earlier this year. And the next thing after the things around recording and statistics, this one major, I want to call it I call it a monster because it's a monster, and it's a monster affecting women and generally people with feminine bodies. And you will allow me to use that because a transgender woman will for sure never encounter endometriosis. That is the monster we are going to talk about. And endometriosis, I'm not here to dive into the biological or rather, sorry, my Kikuyu is already coming into play. My ancestors are calling loud and very clear. Or rather, I'm not here to dive into the anatomical or rather the biological aspect of it, but I'm here to deal with systemic and the organizing aspect of it. So for endometriosis, for the longest time, it has been labeled, or rather it has been called a woman issue, and for sure it is, because it's a situation around abnormal state of the menstrual cycle, or so I can say, and this is affecting women specifically. And what did we say? We said that femicide is the intentional killing of women in their diversity because they are women. And so another question for you, for anyone that may be wondering, why is this one dragging everything into the femicide issue? So endometriosis is a literal monster, and we have lost many women all thanks to endometriosis. May their soul rest in peace. But the major question is, what are these things being done to mitigate this particular situation? What are these research measures that are being put in place to actually make sure that not another woman is dying of endometriosis? Crickets. Exactly. More often than not, there's nothing. People have to go abroad in pursuit of these particular services. People have to go abroad in pursuit of medical care when it comes to endometriosis. And it is so sad, because I'm just thinking, when I just look at this particular situation where because this is what it looks like to me. And I think in my previous in my previous episode, I just mentioned about how feminists are. People want to insinuate that feminists turn everything into a gender issue. But in real sense, I think there are so many things that are being done, and these things are outrightly things that are just being done because of the gender diversity and the gender discrimination. Again, we can't fail to mention that. And so for endometriosis, I'm just thinking women are bleeding, and it will be harsh to not recognize how much women have to go through during their monthly cycles, and then they have to still deal with maybe patriarchy and deal with capitalism. Not just think about how hectic it is for the normal woman, quote unquote. Now think of of a person who is having excruciatingly painful periods and a heavy flow while at that. So definitely these are people who need even extra blood boosts. They need certain medication. They need certain, just a lot of things going into their bodies, and even things coming out of their bodies, from energy to blood and everything. And then someone somewhere is supposed to take care of this particular situation, but they choose now. It's not urgent enough. It's not urgent enough. And then I will be hit with, but we have the people who are in charge of gender and representation in parliament and everywhere. But the fact is, as part of, just realizing that there is some aspect of inconsistency in this representation, and I want to outwardly admit that just because you are a woman just doesn't mean you are well conversant or you are fit enough to go and represent women in their diversity at whatever capacity. Because I want to give you a very clear image here. I think I've given a lot of. I want us to be very, very visionary in this particular episode. A person with a detail of 9 people, a person who takes a flight whenever she pleases, a person who has a very fat paycheck. How is this particular person going to represent people who are sleeping hungry? How is this person going to represent a person who cannot afford a sanitary towel every month? How is this person going to, just going to represent different diversity of struggles that women may be encountering? And also, I don't want to be tone deaf. I don't want to be ignorant of the fact that we have people who will go there and they can relate to these particular situations, but as soon as the checks lands on their hand, as soon as these few coins land on their hands, then suddenly they forget the course to which they were called to, perform whatever duty it is that they were assigned. And this is why I want to confidently say, even when looking for leaders, when looking for representation as women, when looking to organize, when looking to just get liberated, I think we really need to be intentional. We need to just put people through certain tests. It's disgusting, it's unfortunate. We have to be looking at this kind of encounters and this kind of situations, but unfortunately, as a call to action, these are the things we have to do. We have to be extremely vigilant when just deciding on who and who is supposed to represent us, who and who is supposed to go in a certain space and act as our representative, because it seems like there's some kind of the inconsistency and the incoherence I'm talking about. It seems like the lower person is talking about this kind of issue, and the woman up there who has been sent to go and represent us has gone there with a different thing in mind. And these are things we definitely have to go over. These things we have to again put them in writing, because we say it's not a rule until it's written. And so this again is a challenge to every organizer, every activist, every advocate. Let's just look for solutions. I'm not here to provide solutions. I'm here to agitate and just challenge for people to just take, for people to figure out a course of actions. Because I'm just feeling when it comes to femicide again, because like I have resolved, or like I have agreed, and like many people would agree. When we ignore femicide and we just let women to continue dying of a similar situation over and over again, then this to me looks like intentional killing. And when it's intentional killing, then as advocates and as activists and as people organizing, we need to just decide about what it is that we need to do. I'm not here to tell you this is what we are supposed to do. I'm here to point out the possible solutions, because maybe this is me letting my intrusive thoughts win, or maybe me here just letting my overthinking do the most. But then this is a possible cause for action, and if more people thought around this and just figure out a way of how to help these particular people, I don't want, I cannot even imagine, I cannot sit here and lie that I know the pain they go through, to just have, an overflow of blood and the pains you have to go through. It's And so of course, like we can't just sit and start telling their stories. And I think that is something I need to just point out. I'm not here to tell people's stories. I'm here because I am empathetic of the situations they are going through. I am cognizant of what their situations might be around, capitalism. Imagine a person is in pain, so the likelihood of them not being able to function is very, very high. So my question is, what are these policies that are in place to make sure that this person is an ender warrior, and that they are not being left out from the privileges a normal woman, a normal person who is going through a normal period cycle is going through, that kind of thing. And then we have also issues around victim blaming when it comes to femicide. And at times, victim blaming it's a pile up of so many things. And for example, for trans women, someone might ask, when you went to that street and this person saw you and came and attacked you and killed you, why couldn't you just dress up as the gender you were assigned at birth? Why couldn't you behave in this and this kind of way? Why couldn't you? And so it is from a point of lack of information, it is from a point of misinformation, it is from a point of disinformation around this area. But remember, like we always say, ignorance has no defense. So I won't sit here and say that I understand why anyone might be victim blaming. I'm just here to say that when you don't have enough information about a certain topic, it will be wise to just be silent about it, because I'm a person who believes that even fools are considered wise when silent. Because when you go around just being careless with your words, when you go around just victim blaming. And welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you have liked, subscribed, dropped your comments, share that video. Yeah, and so we have had a change of location, because earlier the Kenya Power lighting and whatever it is they do, because they don't really light up our modes, decided to do the thing. And so we didn't have lights for a bit, and we were using the natural light outside. But then the wind was so much, because the floor we are in is a little bit ikojuki dogo. And so yeah, we decided to just come back to the original shoot location. But again, the story must continue. And so I will start from where I left y'all at. We were just tackling the matters around people victim shaming, and this has been, it's a national catastrophe if you ask me, because I don't see how someone is dead, and instead of asking the perpetrator, why did you kill her, the first question is, why was she killed? Are you okay? Begs the question. And so I was just, so many things. I feel like advocacy and activism, you have to be driven by a lot of anger, and a lot of triggers are just all over the place. Because even on the day of the march, we are literally on the grounds. We are about to start the march in the Nairobi CBD, and someone is saying, we are going to taendelea kuwaua. And for those who don't understand Swahili, it's directly translates to, we are going to keep on killing you as long as you keep on taking these quote-unquote favors from men. And the favors in questions were, a pack of pizza, I don't know, a bottle of alcohol. And I'm just like, it's even cheap liquor, and it's not even an excuse just because it's expensive. because again, people are buying bigger things for their girlfriends and not asking for anything in return, let alone you who is asking for a woman's life in return. I think we need to get serious. Victim shaming should not be. And is this something that is taught? Or is it anything that just comes naturally? Is it a naturally occurring, phenomena, or whatever you can call it? Because I don't get it. And funny bit, it's the audacity, the calmness, and the aggressiveness that these victim shamers, victim blamers actually come forth with. Because the reason why a public figure, a politician, just takes the public address and starts saying, you should teach your children not to want things for free. You should teach your children not to want, the nice stuff in life. Who does not want things in life? I personally would not want to work. I would want to just sit and get paid for that. So stop blaming and stop making it look like it's women who like good things in life. It's just that the society has conditioned people to look like men should be suffering and women should be getting easier things in life. But in real sense, there is no one who should not be having a good life. There is no one who does not deserve to get the finest and the good, the good things in life. Just go for them and don't make women feel like they should shrink when they get these things and they need to always justify and say, you know what, I am successful and not because of a man. Men should give women those good things. I mean, stop acting like it's just because you chose not to, just because you chose the life or the line that goes to suffering, just because you chose to carry that cross. Don't make it seem like now that is the standard and everyone else now around you should automatically just, subscribe to your beliefs and thoughts. It's crazy. It's crazy. And when I talked about recipes in my previous videos and said the way you do things, different things in life, the way you have sex, the way you pray, the way you do different things, just because people speak in tongues, it doesn't mean everyone else should be praying in tongues. Just because you love this kind of, sex positions and styles, it doesn't mean anyone else who doesn't subscribe to that kind of life is not valid. And speaking of, sex, the next people who get it rough and who are always on the receiving end when it comes to victim blaming is sex workers. And I think we are going to have a really comprehensive episode about sex work, and just not make it seem like these women are having sex with themselves. I'm just like, you're here saying, oh, she's selling sex, she's doing whatever she's doing. Who is she selling this sex to? But you don't seem to bother about the clients, the people who are purchasing this particular sex. It's funny how when, a woman stands and saying these slay queens are stealing people's husbands. And I'm just like, how loose is your husband? Is your husband being stolen, or is he actually taking himself to these particular people and actually saying that, you know what, my wife died 2 years ago, I'm actually in mourning, when in real sense, you just there fighting the woman. And these are actually things that may look irrelevant, but to some extent, these are things that are at the very bottom, at the very base level when it comes to femicide. Because it's these women who will now send someone and say, you know what, this babe has been messing with my husband, I'm about to get rid of her. And here I am about to sound like, the bitter and toxic feminist that people say we are. But you can't sit here and act like anyone is the prize. Your husband is not the prize. That woman's life is the prize. And so you're trying to behave as if, the sun sets and rises in your husband's ass. It's too long a shot, girl. It's not right. It's not right, and we won't sit here and act like we're just going to be silent and act. So I want people to, we make a lot of fun on socials and say, you know what, there are people who say, I'm not, there's a statement about, I'm not homophobic, but no offense, but, and the offense that actually comes later. Now this is something also these kind of women have actually taken, they've made it a leeway for them to now just slide in their toxicity into this particular dynamic. So this woman would just be like, but I was giving my opinion when I was victim blaming, when I was saying women should not be receiving iPhones. I was giving my opinion. No, I will repeat this 101 times. Two things do not exist at the same time. It's only the right and ethical things that exist. If whatever you're saying is going to bring forth erasure of someone else's existence, if whatever you're saying is about to be a life-threatening kind of comment, I hate to say it, I hate to burst your bubble, but I'll have to. Shut up. Just hold your breath. Just use it for other things. Puliza moto, ama you just go take care of your relationships, or just go say sweet nothings to your husband who is being stolen. But leave the women out of it. I think I'm so tired, I'm so sick and tired of seeing women just, seated in such a vulnerable situation where you can't even dress in a certain type of way just because you're wondering, before I leave this house, is someone going to sexualize me? And this sexualization, when I try to speak up, am I going to get killed? It is so annoying. It's blatantly annoying, to say the least. Women cannot live showing remorse for a system they did not create. Women cannot live their lives shrinking. Women cannot live their lives being subjects to people who are just, enslavers who they didn't choose to be enslaved to. Because I'm just wondering how scared you must be of women if you have to kill them for their silence. And they say, oh, these people have power. They don't have any power. Women are so powerful. Women are empowered. And I always say a coward is any man who cannot sit in the discomfort of watching a woman in their surrounding being empowered. And we should stop this thing of saying our women are being killed. You don't own any woman, so rest. Just rest. You do not own any life. Every life we have, my life belongs to me. And so there's no one who should be saying our. Not even the parents, I hate to say. Because I just feel like even parents are not doing enough. They're not doing enough. And that is why one of the chants we were doing during the End Femicide March is teach your boys. Teach your boys to take rejection gracefully. Teach your boys to respect women. Teach your boys to know that whenever you see a woman in a short skirt, it does not mean that automatically she needs to be catcalled. It does not mean that she needs to be touched. Women are not dressing like whores. You're the one reasoning like a rapist. End of quote. We cannot keep on limiting women and saying, you know what, women must live in this kind of, it looks like, women are guinea pigs. And so they have to be in certain conditions for them to go to a lab test and actually pass this particular test. It's disgraceful, it's disrespectful, it's very belittling, it's disgusting, to say the least. Femicide needs to end. It's not an option, it's the only solution. And from my desk to yours, I am Patsy Gibenji, and again hoping that you have left a comment, you have subscribed to this particular channel to follow up on many more insightful and, just conversations bringing that kind of agitation feel. Conversations that are, really progressive. We're not about coming to spread bad vibes, being closed-minded and saying, you know what, the Bible says this and this. Yes, the Bible says this and this, but deep in our hearts, we know what we believe in. We know what is right. We don't need anyone to help us interpret what the Holy Book says. We were given brains to think. Stop being brainwashed. Stop anyone carrying your brains, because again, I'm just left wondering of what use is the brain that you have. Is it a decor? Is it a decoration? An ornament? For you to say this and this person told me this. I was told this and this. I was told that women should be doing this. What happened to you making your own choices? I was thinking so. I know you agree. And that is why you have liked. Yes. And of course you have subscribed. This is Patsy Gibenji, and that is how Patsy sees it. Until next time, same place, same show, same amazing conversation, progressive of course. It's a bye-bye from me.